Here in Peites. Good morning, Simon Sif Gimel. Talking about waiting between basar and chalav. So Sif Gimel, achal tavsha shel basar, muter le'echal acharav tavsha shel gvina. Someone who eats tavsha shel basar, meaning a meat soup, not the meat itself, but the soup, or the barley from the joint. It's muter to eat afterwards tavsha shel gvina. Something like, say you take the cheese off the pizza crust, eat the pizza crust, or, some other type of, tarevis. And to wash your hands is only rishos, because, again, you're eating a tavshil, so it's not, doesn't so you stick to your hands. Something that you do need a netila. It's a dim. If you come to eat cheese itself after meat, or basar atzma achar tavshil, shagvina, or the opposite, you're chayiv to go ahead and wash your hands. This is no. There's only no waiting at all. Machaber holds there's no waiting at all.
If there was 1 hour or 6 hours in between, you still have to wash your hands.
That's telling on the last sif, depending. I mean, if it's immediate, then you have to wash your hands. If you wait 6 hours, you don't have to wash your hands. Yeah. Hagav Shuman shel basar dino kabasar atzma. When the Ramah starts to be machmir, and he says, wait a second, Shuman shel basar, if it has, the fat of basar is like the basar atzma. So if you have tavsha shel basar and there's fat inside, gravy there, whatever, then that's going to be like eating basar itself. So, it'd have to be something where there's tam basar, but there isn't like gravy. Let's say you made meat, chicken, I don't know, whatever, chicken and rice, and you see where the rice is colored over here and whatever, but there's rice on the side, like further away, which doesn't seem to have been touched by the chicken or the schmaltz or anything like that. Afal pikein, that would be tavshil shel basar, because there's tam in it.
Well, you let the soup cool, and you removed all.
But okay, I don't think you remove all the fat. Okay, whatever. If you feel like but if you eat any of the fat, then that's considered like basar atzma. Nago achshav lahachmish l'olechol gvina achal tavshil basar achal basar atzma. We're machshiv tavshil basar as basar ve'ein l'shana. He's leave it together. I didn't look up started in though, but I think I meant to. But I think they're machmer also, but I didn't have a chance. Miyu im ein basar v'tavshil machshin is bashel v'kdeira. But if there's no meat in the tavshil, just you cooked it in a fleshik pot, in a basari pot. Shabasa muter lechal acharav gvina. Then you can eat gvina afterwards. Ve'ein ba minig lahachmer. There's no minig lahachmer on that at all. That we're not machmer on blias. If there's blias in the pot, even binyomo, even whatever, we're not machmer 6 hours. So too, we'll see later on in Davar Harif, and was it Tarivav, if you cut an onion with a fleshik or milk with a fleshik knife, even though we say it's a fleshig onion, and therefore it's also to go ahead and to eat it with milk, but you don't have to wait 6 hours. At least Kareger says you don't have to wait 6 hours. Obviously, if it's a dirty knife, if you eat that spot where you cut it, it could be okay. That's something that's shuman, I don't know, whatever it is. But on the other part of the onion, even though you would be also to eat that with or cook it with milk, or eat it with milk, but it doesn't make you wait 6 hours. And we treat, you can eat meat after, like just we had the case before, tavshil shel gvina chalav. Miyu yesh litel yadav b'neihem, but you should wash your hands. Just one thing I didn't mention: there are people who say the last sif is talking about gvina, but there are those who are much more makel when it comes to chalav. If you drink milk and to eat, this is the first time I actually mentions milk over here, and then eat and they meat. So some say you can do it rinse your mouth out, do it pretty quickly. Some say you wait like l'kaim the Zohar, a shah doesn't mean a full hour, it means a half hour, that's a shah, like a shah ba'alma, a certain amount of time. And also the chal doesn't stick in the teeth, v'chulei v'chulei. Miu yesh little yodav b'nei, but you should wash your hands in between. Even if you're not eating actual meat, but you should always wash your hands. If you touch the food at all, if you use the fork and you're a neat eater, proper etiquette, whatever it is, and you go to your in-laws' house and you have to look presentable. So and you don't need to wash your hands. Shamish basuda, you have a waiter who's serving the food when the Deah ba'ochlim, and then when he's serving, he touches the food. Even when he touches the food, he doesn't need the tila. Let's say he's serving meat, and then he wants to have a cheese sandwich. He doesn't need to wash his hands. The you only need to wash your hands only if you're eating. But if obviously if he's mixing the food with his hand, I'm not talking about that. But if he's serving the food, he could, shaykh, he touches his hand or whatever. So that we're not so worried about. Listen, obviously if he has a dirty hand from the meat, then obviously you should wash it. But if it's not, the point is that you just look at his hands and see if it's dirty. He doesn't need to actually wash it. Right. Oh, if he licks his finger, then it might be fleishiks, because I'm not sure if there's fleishiks on it. But yeah. Okay, Dalid. Misha achal gvina v'roitza le'echol basar. Someone who eats cheese and wants to eat meat. Tzarech levarmi al shulchan shiuri pas she'achlu im gvina. Right? If you're eating bread with it and you're eating cheese, then you have to be sure you clear all the pieces of bread off the table. It doesn't mean the crumbs. Shiuri pas means actual pieces of bread. It doesn't mean like little crumbs. It means a kazayas or around an actual piece. The also lechol teeny crumbs.
You have little crumbs of cheese on the
Not no, it's not about the bread. The bread, cheese, yeah, just the bread. How about the bread? So you won't come to eat the bread with meat. So you have to take all the bread off. The also lechol gvina al mapa, and you can't eat gvina al mapa shachal babasa, and you can't eat cheese on a tablecloth that you ate meat on. V'chein lehepech aser. Yeah, and I remember I had a shaila a few weeks back, whatever, that Shabbos morning my kids ate a pudding on and it spilled on the tablecloth, and then we wanted then by lunch or other kids set up set the table. And we realized that there's a spot. I said, well, no, it's over there. We'll cover it up. I said, no, it's a din. You can't eat on the same tablecloth that there was. If there's
cover it up, it should be
if you cover it up, it could be. And it kind of makes it no, but if it's the same tablecloth, that's how I understood. It's the same tablecloth. If you cover it up, it's still the same tablecloth. Although you're right, maybe you won't come to touch that spot.
If you have a tablecloth on your table, you can't put down placemats of the other men.
Yeah, that you could do. No, but they put it directly on the table, and they're like, no, we'll just be careful. Sure, and just they put the plates. Okay, we'll sit. Be sure it's between us. I don't remember exactly what happened. So that would be a problem. You're right. If you put placemats, that would be different. So you can't use a chalavin knife, a milk knife, to cut meat. If you have bread that you were eating with cheese, also you can't use a fleshik knife to cut that bread because it's going to have the knife has shuman of meat on it, and you're going to touch shuman of cheese, and that would be a problem. And of course the opposite is also a problem. However, by sticking it, this is the din. We'll see in a few places. It's the end of Azar. That if you stick it in the ground, hard ground 10 times, then that cleans off the shuman scrubs off the shuman from the knife, and that's good enough. Shaila is what's the din with like using scotch or steel wool, things like that? Is that good enough? Say b'di'evid with soap and with that b'di'evid it might be okay. Although some poskim I saw say it's still that's what since that's how Chazal said to do it, that there's obviously some cheshbon behind it, so you should do it. I saw that even if you're stuck somewhere and the only thing there's a flower pot, so I said that you could wash it off the still or whatever and stick it 10 times in the dirt of the flower pot to kind the Chazal. But akopan, it's akopan if you clean it clean it really well with scotch or obviously steel wool is better. I don't know if it makes such a difference. Sandpaper. I saw some people sandpaper said that's like karka because it's well I think it's glass, but I don't know whatever it is, it's similar sand whatever. So then that could be is good enough. The minig Yisrael is to have two knives and also flatware and everything, silverware. And you have to put a heker on one. The minig is to roshem the dairy ones. The Lashanas minig Yisrael. The reason I saw why daf b'cholov is because that if a person wouldn't, if he usually everyone labels the meat ones. All right, let's say. All right, and one of them he forgot to label. So he's going to be taking this fleshik knife and he's going to be using it to cut stuff, and then he's going to make things fleshiks and it's going to have shamnudis on it, but however I'll have to wait in between and realize it. Mashain Kane, if you forgot to, if you always do chalav and you forgot to, put on it, and therefore you assume it's a fleshik knife and you use it to cut fleshiks. Also in general, it's not balua from hot stuff. Meat can be balua from hot milk, from hot meat, but chalav, hot, most has schmutz on it. But it won't be balua from hot, from hot stuff. It could be it's more kal. This is a tamba alma for the minig. There might be other reasons also, but al kolpanim in the minig is to do both. Often in the houses, everyone they do, they do both. They label both. Al kolpanim, or there's a shino. You can tell. Also, some say it's a shino in the knife is also good enough. Or all your silverware, you can tell there's two different types of silverware. Things like that. Knives can be more problematic because it's hard to, especially if you have similar types of knives. Sometimes you can, people won't realize. But al kolpanim in the minig is to have two sets of knives. Now there's this parv knives, and there's also parv. But again, which is some you have stickers and that, but they come off, whatever. I don't know, like if you scratch it in, the stickers are probably enough. Anyway, yeah, or use different colors, things like that. Yeah. Fine. Simon Tzadik, getting chal. Now, chal is the udder of the cow, and Pirish Chal Hadad Shel Behema. Now, this simon avia is not so nogea because, I don't think anyone needs udders. We can shecht another sheep, female sheep, and cook the udder if we want, but al kolpanim, no one really eats it. But there's a lot of yisodos here. About chana, about chaticha atzum nasas nevela, and efshar losochto, also different concepts which is going to run through the rest of basar b'cholav and tarovis, which come out strongly over here. So it's a good place to start. Hakachal also midivrei seifrim, because what's the problem? The problem is you have the milk ducts in the udder, and therefore, the milk is dirabanan. She'ena basar shenis vashel becholav shchuta also minatar. We said before it's called shchuta. Obviously, if you took it off when it's alive, it's say minachai. That's something else. But al kolpanim, you take it's called shchuta. So it's only midirabanan. So therefore, afal pikin the chazal were machmer on it because of maris ayin or because it's chalav dirabanan. Different reasons. The fichach im karu. Umirik hachalav shabo. If you go ahead and you cut it and you squeeze out the milk, mutter l'tzleisav la'achlo. It's mutter to go ahead and to roast it and to eat it, but not to cook it. We'll see. But cooking it by itself, cooking it in water, is going to be a problem. Now there's a few shitas here, about when the Gemara says when the Gemara says you need to do. Shtiva erev tachu b'koisel zaloshim. We'll see in a second. Here we'll read it. In karo shtiva erev, you cut it, in a plus sign, v'tachu b'koisel, and you squeeze it against the wall or a table, whatever it is. Ad shenisha bo lachuchas chalav, the mutu levashlim abasar. Then you can go ahead and you can cook it even with other meat. Now there's a few shitas. You have Shitas Rashi, who understands that the whole sugya of Tachel B'Koisel and every Shtiva Erev is talking about sli. But bishul, even cooking the udder by itself is aser. But for tzli, you want to matter tzli, that would be okay. On the other side, the Right. This is not the Shulchan Aruch. This is Shitas Rashi. We're going to be machmir at some point about it. Next is Shitas Avinu Tam, who says, well, that's utter nonsense. Okay, no, whatever. The fun has to be said, but no, I don't think he doesn't say that. But Al Kopanim, you have to go ahead and he says it's talking about bishul, and if you go ahead and even if you do. For bishul atzmo, as long as you open it up and you let it drain a bit, that's enough. For bishul, for shtiva erev, is if you want to cook it with other pieces of meat, and then that will be mutter. The Shita Sarif in the Rashba says you need to shtiva erev tachal b'koisel is even cooking it by itself.
Yeah,
Which,
the Arab and Tachel B'Kosel and then salt it, right?
yeah. We're talking obviously salt. When do you salt it? I don't remember. If you have to salt it, I think even if you salted it before, the salt doesn't take out chalav. It doesn't take out chalav. So the thing with the Rashi says with the eish is that eish draws out all liquid. And the last shita, that's the riff in the Rashi. But Prichadosh lists them all out. And last shita is the Rambam is that who holds as most machmer you need kriya even batzli. However and all the other rishonim are going to you need for tzli, and the last thing negative Rabbeinu Tam is that if kriya ksas, if you cut it a little bit, the Rabbeinu Tam says that's good enough for cooking by itself. But the other shitas hold that cutting a little bit is nothing. The kriya means shtiva erev tachel b'koisel. There's no such thing as just cutting it and letting it drain. Now, so back to the Shulchan Aruch. The first shita is v'chim karo umirik achalav shabo mutar litzlosav v'la'achlo. You just need kriya, a little bit of kriya, and then it's mutar to go ahead and to roast it. Which is more make it like Rabbeinu Tam. V'im karu shtiva erev v'tachel b'koisel asher nisha bar lachluchis chalav mutu levashli v'basar. Then you could cook it with meat, with other meat. V'kal shelo karo, b'kal you didn't cut, you didn't slice. Bein shoktana shelo hinika, whether it's even of a little calf. Even if it didn't mainik, so it's definitely not going to have any chalav in it or anything like that. Bein shok doila. Also levashloi, it's also to cook it. But if you went ahead and you cooked it, bifnei atzmo, if you cooked it by itself in a pot of water, koshkenim tzalo, mutar la'achlo, then it's mutar to go ahead and eat it. Because we say that it's midrabanan and all the if there's and therefore it's not going to be bolea itself. We're not it's not we don't the only the chalav inside is not necessarily going to be Irish, and others say that that also the Rashi says, the Shazbing's Rashi, that whatever milk is, the milk is only also shchuta if it's cholav, it's like dam, that's pirish, you see dam. dam adam. But the chalav which is inside the milk ducts is not considered chalav unless we see it. So therefore, it gets absorbed in the meat, and therefore therefore you don't even see it. It doesn't have a din chalav b'chlal. In bishlu in basar acher, if you cooked it with other meat, bisharin oisa b'shishim, then you cheshbon shishim v'chal min a minyan, and chal is min a minyan. Even though usually we say that the cheshbon of shishim that it's a in the vela, the shishim does not include the actual dvar iser, but chal or tipas chalav, a piece of milk falls on a piece of meat, whatever. We don't say that. We cheshbon the whole meat, but bechal, since we're only worried about the chalav popping out, so therefore the meat itself is also used to mevatel. Ketzad im hayakol im akal imo kmo shishim bechal kal aser. If everything together with the kal is only shishim, up to shishim, then it's aser. The kal is aser. Shar mutter, but the shar, everything else, the tam is bottled. If there's less than shishim, akol also, and even the kal is also. Because we said before, the kal cooked by itself, if it's cooked on the basar, it comes also. If it falls into a different pot, it still asers it. Umisharim bo b'shishim k'rishona and licheshbon shishim, just like we said in the first case, she'chal atzma shenitzbashel nasa kechaticha hasura. What's called a chaticha atzma nasis nevela, even though it's midrabanan. And on this, the Taz points out that there's a machlokes Rashba and the Rambam, and the Rambam and the Mechaber Ramah, that the Mechaber holds is that there is a din of nasis nevela by durabanan. But you only have to look at it after even in the second time. If it shriveled up, you have to cheshbon the way it fell into the second pot, not the way it fell originally, how it was in the beginning. If it fell into a kedera, doesn't have shishim. If it fell into a different kedera, because this is nasis nevela. The v'chein ikar that the mechlokas between the Mechaber and Ramah is that the Mechaber holds that the basar itself is not nasis nevela. So therefore, just like in the original case, the kal is mitzvah, the basar of the kal is mitzvah to mevatel shishim. So too over here, Masha'en Kain, the Ramah and the Rashba hold that it becomes a shtik yisr, becomes a piece of yisr, and therefore you can't use the meat of the kal of Hamd Rabbanan to Mishayir, and therefore you have to be shishim chutz from the kachal. And Al Kapanim, just to explain, we're running late here. Fine, we'll stop here. I'll try to go over a little bit and add a few of these sodas tomorrow because it's complicated. Yeah, I have to get it.